Okay, so this is going to be part 12 now, and we're going to kind of continue with the moving to Florida thing. It was getting to crunch time, and we had to start figuring out where, we were going to go to school and stuff like that, because I'm like, again, I have no friends. I'm like, we're living motel to motel, and again, there's no kids and stuff at these motels. Like, it's just me and my brothers, and we're in one room, so imagine how that is with one TV, one bathroom, for a couple months, like for a few months. And so my parents could finally figure out where they were going to go. So long story short, my parents ended up finding a apartment in a place called Titusville, Florida. Titusville, Florida. This is located in Central Florida. It's Brevard County. It's near like Cocoa Beach, Melbourne, Palm Bay, Mims. It's near all of them type of places. Okay. So when I tell you, it was a culture shock for me in the sense of I grew up in New Hampshire, and I told you it was predominantly Caucasian. I was usually always the only black girl in the classroom. Sometimes it was like me and my brothers were like the only black people in the school. Okay, trust, it was like that. But yeah. So moving to Florida, and this part of Florida where I moved. Again, my parents never did no research on anything. They just did things, So we moved to Titusville, Florida, and when I tell you I experienced a culture shock, because again, I came from a predominantly Caucasian area, and I'm going to an area in Florida that was predominantly black. Okay, and when I tell you. Yo, this is also where all the bullying started for me, because me coming from New Hampshire, people used to make fun of me because they told me that I talk too white. They're like, why do you talk like that? You're trying to be a white girl. Like, stop talking like that. Why are you faking your voice and stuff like that? Like, all the time I would hear that, because again, growing up, the culture is so different. Even the Caucasian people in Florida and the Hispanic people, when I tell you that they acted black, they would literally say nigga. They would be out there saying all of them things in there, and then it was like normal. It was a normal thing. So I'm over here like what is this? And they would it would, some of their voices, and y'all could even, there's so many people that you guys have probably encountered now on social media that I can probably give you like a reminder of what I experienced. I would say like a Whoa Vicky, that Catch Me Outside girl. Those are the type of people, vibes, energies that I was experiencing. But again, I never experienced anything like that. Like when I tell you, we went from everything being neat, structured, rigid, peaceful schools. There was never any drama, never any fights. I never heard any of that type of stuff happening, never felt unsafe. Nothing like that. I never witnessed it. Okay. But then moving down south, these kids were so wild. These kids, I've never experienced kids like this in my life, and that's why I felt so different. I felt so out of place. I felt like it was so hard for me to make friends too, because I just didn't really fit in with the kids. Like, my energy was totally different coming from, where I come from, and then them pointing everything out about me. I was also made fun of because I was skinny and petite and tinier. They would tell me that I'm too skinny, I'm too bony, I'm these things, all these different things. I'm hearing all these things, my voice, all these different things. And then I had muscles kind of at a young age, so it was you're manly, you look like a man. Why you look like a man? You look like a monkey, you look like an ape, you're too black, you're blacky, you're gorilla. All of these things I would hear all the time. Once I moved to Florida, this is where the bullying started. This is where I started hearing about me, what people thought of me. Okay, I never heard those type of things because again, I don't know, I grew up in an area where people really liked that. Everyone was kind of just accepting. But yeah, going down south and people not knowing me, then me just totally being different. There was no way for me to not be different. So they noticed it, and that was just a target. I was like, that's the target right there, her right there. Let's crush her soul. But yeah, either way, I'm always the type of person that kind of adapt. So that's kind of really where my armor and stuff started to develop too, is I started to put on more of a protective shield on myself, making sure that I'm not surrounded by the wrong people and staying away from people that were too reckless and too wild. Because when I tell you, fights would break out. People would just be cursing, saying all these things, doing all these things. And I'm like, I've never seen, I'm like, y'all are and I'm a Christian coming up, growing in a Christian household where I had to go to church 3 to 4 times a week sometimes, or more, depending if my father was like helping out or if he was having my mom help out and volunteering. So coming from that to seeing, I've experienced the polarities. I done did it. So I noticed that I was gravitating more towards, like, a lot of the friends that I would start to make, I would have a lot more like white friends, and they would be the white friends that didn't act ghetto, because that's just how I seen it. I'm like, those people act way too ghetto. They're over here doing, I don't know what you're doing, but I don't like that. It's so crazy. Like, some of the shit that they were doing and saying and acting, they would just be talking over the teachers, telling the teachers and stuff to shut up, and then like just cutting the teachers up and like just doing whatever they wanted to do sometimes. That's the vibe, because we kind of went, what my parents could afford was the areas that were cheap. So the cheap came with the ghetto, came with the hood kids, came with the people that were really experiencing the struggle. But again, no matter what, I always found good people within that. So even if you did grow up in the struggle, I still made friends that still had a good soul, that were still goofy, that were still funny, that I could still vibe and connect with. It just took me a little bit longer to kind of open up and find them, because again, like, I had to filter out who to avoid, and so yeah. But I'm gonna leave part 12 there, and we'll continue in the next part. So be sure to give this video a like, be sure to comment if you have experienced anything similar, or just comment below regardless, and save this video, and also be sure to stay tuned for the next part.